Thanks for checking out this video. Before we start, I am not a financial advisor and none of this should be considered financial advice. This tool is for educational and personal planning purposes only. It does not constitute financial, tax, legal or investment advice. All projections are estimates based on the values that you enter and are not guaranteed. Hi and welcome to this tutorial where I am excited to share with you a new quality of life feature to all 5 versions of the Retirement Income Planner that will make importing current tax parameters much easier and quicker than in previous versions. Tax rates change every year. The IRS adjusts its brackets for inflation. The government publishes new federal poverty level figures that determine ACA subsidy eligibility. Medicare IRMAA threshold shift. The Social Security COLA rate is announced each autumn. If your retirement plan is built on last year's numbers, every calculation is slightly off, and across the 20-year plan, slightly off adds up to significantly wrong. Up until now, keeping these numbers current meant manually looking up each figure, finding the right field in the Edit tab and entering it yourself, over and over every year. The Import Current Rates feature replaces all that with a 2-minute process. You copy one prompt, paste it into any AI assistant, and then paste the response back, and every rate field updates automatically. Let me show you exactly how it works. To make it easier to see the results of this process, I've already been into the edit area and changed the tax parameters for 2026 and the UK tax parameters so that they all indicate 1111. This will make it very clear to see the updated figures at the end of this process. So let's take a look at exactly how this import works. We are already on the Edit All Values tab where this area is located, and we scroll all the way to the bottom past where it says AI Advisor Prompt to the section that says Import Current Rates. This is the prompt that's going to get pasted into the AI engine of your choice, and we're going to click Copy Prompt. Then we're going to go over to our AI and paste that into here. Now here's one I've already done. Here's the prompt that's being pasted in, and here's the response. And when we get the response, just click Copy Response and come back to our planner, and we're going to paste that in there and click Import and Apply. And when we do that, we see this notification that says 35 values imported and applied. That number might be different depending on which version of the retirement planner we're using. And if we want to see the results of that, we can simply click the Edit Values Manually button here, and that takes us to the top of this page. We scroll down, we can see that those parameters have now been inputted successfully. If the AI response was malformed or the JSON couldn't be parsed, you'll see a red error message describing the problem. In that case, try repasting. Sometimes pasting from certain apps introduces invisible characters. If the error persists, click Edit Values Manually to enter the affected values by hand. However, this shouldn't be necessary. So let's have a look at what actually gets updated. It's actually a lot more here than you might think. So the US federal rates, these are always imported. So the standard deduction for single filers and the additional senior deduction for age 65 and over, the 10%, 12% and 22% bracket ceilings for single filers, the IRMAA threshold, Medicare surcharge income limit, assumed inflation rate, and Social Security cost of living rate. So up here we have the Social Security cost of living rate here. US rates for married filing jointly. When you click married filing jointly here, we get an extra section with these numbers. The equivalent standard deduction, senior deduction and bracket ceilings for joint filings are updated. The joint IRMAA threshold which is roughly double the single filer limit, ACA healthcare rates, and the federal poverty level 100%, 250%, and 400% for a one-person household. These are also updated. One important note on the federal poverty level figures. The ACA marketplace always uses the prior year's published FPL when calculating subsidies for the current plan year. For example, your 2026 plan uses 2025 federal poverty level values, not the 2026 figures published by the HHS in the spring of 2026. The prompt tells the AI this explicitly, so when you see the imported FPL numbers and they look 1 year behind, that's correct. Don't change them to the current year. The planner is deliberately using prior year's figures exactly as the actual ACA marketplace does. If we select UK at the top here, we see the UK parameters. These are also updated. The UK personal allowance, basic, higher and additional rate thresholds and percentages. If we select Canada, we get a Canadian box. Let's have a look here. So in the Canadian box we've got basic personal amount and the 4 federal bracket ceilings, an average provincial rate for combined federal plus provincial modelling. And if we select Australia, should get an Australian box somewhere down here. Here it is. So this includes tax-free thresholds and the 19%, 32.5% and 37% bracket ceilings and the Medicare levy percentage. All of this updates in one import. A full manual refresh of these fields would take 20 to 30 minutes of looking up figures and typing them individually. The import does this in just a couple of minutes. A few things worth knowing about the international fields. UK personal allowance and thresholds are entered in US dollars, not pounds. The AI is instructed to convert them using the current GBP USD rate. If the exchange rate changes significantly between when you import and when you file, you can manually adjust these using the Edit Values Manually button and updating the rate fields to reflect the current exchange rate. Canadian amounts are in Canadian dollars. The federal bracket ceilings and personal amount are the Canada Revenue Agency's published figures. The AI converts nothing here, so the values go in as published by the CRA. The provincial rate field is an average. The actual rate varies by province, so if you know your specific province's rate, you can override it manually after importing. Australian amounts are in Australian dollars, as published by the ATO. The Medicare levy is a simple percentage, currently 2% for most taxpayers, and the import handles it correctly as a decimal entry. If you're only using the planner for US tax purposes and none of the international rates apply to you, don't worry. Those fields simply don't affect your calculation. The planner detects your residency flag and only applies the relevant tax values. So I guess one important question would be, when should you run the import? Well, obviously when you're doing your financial planning for the first time, that would be a good time to do it. After that, once a year at the start of each tax year, typically January or February, once the IRS has published final bracket adjustments. The AI assistants have access to published IRS and HHS data and can reliably return correct figures for the current year. When your plan year changes, if you've just extended your plan from age 80 to 90, or after a major replan, running a fresh import ensures all the rate fields are current before you share or print the plan. After a significant rate announcement, the Social Security Administration announces the annual COLA rate each October. Running a quick import after that announcement keeps your Social Security growth assumption in line with the published rate. The import doesn't overwrite your withdrawal amounts, account balances, or personal details, only the system level rate parameters. Your plan data is always safe. So that's the complete import current rates workflow. 2 steps, under 2 minutes, and every rate parameter in your plan is verified and updated against the latest published figures. The goal is to make annual maintenance feel effortless, so the plan you're looking at always reflects the real tax environment, not where things stood when you first built it. If you want to verify what was imported, click Edit Values manually at any time and scroll through the rate fields. Everything the AI returned is visible and editable. The import is a starting point, not a lock. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.